back to The Single Cook. My name is Tiffany, and this is my channel. I'm doing a recipe today that is a round 2 recipe from our roast chicken dinner, meaning that I'm using the roast chicken from that dinner in this recipe. So this is my second round 2 recipe out of that one roast chicken. Today I am doing a ginger lo mein with the chicken. So today we're going to be doing that. I have all of my ingredients set up and I have a pot of water boiling on the stove. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me adjust you down a little bit so you can see what I do with the sauce. So the things I'm going to be using today are, I've got a tablespoon of brown sugar in a little bowl. I have low sodium soy sauce. I have something called minute miso that I got from Schnucks here in St. Louis. I have stir-in ginger paste. And that's going to be the basis of my sauce. Now, on my pot of boiling water over on the stove, I'm going to add my lo mein noodles, and I just have a small package here. So I'm going to add that to my water so they can get cooking. Cut those open real quick. And we'll drop those in so that they can get going. And I'm not going to break them. I'm just going to kind of let them slowly ease down into that water. That way. Clean up as you go so you don't make a giant mess. All right, so to my tablespoon of brown sugar, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of the stir-in ginger paste. So about equal amounts. Because it is a gingery sauce, so I want to have about the same amount. I'm going to use my minute miso, and I'm going to do probably about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to add my soy sauce, and I'm going to kind of almost fill up this cup with the soy sauce. About to there. And this is about a half a cup, maybe-ish. I have a tiny whisk to combine. Try and get that brown sugar and the ginger all through the soy sauce and the miso. Okay. So just tiny whisk of that to combine. And we'll keep the tiny whisk handy so that we can re-stir it when it gets closer to actually adding it to our pan. There's some ginger stuck on my, there we go, stuck on my whisk. Okay. Let's help nudge those noodles down. So, use a spoon, nudge those in, and let them get cooking. Okay. And I'm going to take my lid off. Now, the vegetables that I'm using today are actually coleslaw mix. So I have about almost 2 cups of coleslaw mix along with 2 button mushrooms that I've added to it because I like to add mushrooms to things. So I have that, and then I have my roast chicken from the other night. So let me go ahead and get my pan heating. And I'm going to add a little bit of my bacon fat. You can use a regular oil or coconut oil or butter, whatever kind of fat you want to use to cook your vegetables. That might be too much, but I don't care. It'll add a salty component that I won't have to add salt for later. Put that back. And we'll get that melting. Now, once this has come up to heat, then I will add my vegetables. Now, the coleslaw mix is a nice little cheat. I don't have to mix my own cabbage and carrot mix. I can use something that is pre-made at the grocery store and just grab a little bit of it rather than the whole bag, or I can get a smaller bag. I am not using a wok for this because I like my cast iron. It adds a little bit of flavor just being a seasoned pan on its own. And it's easier for me to use. It's not as big. Okay. So now that that is gone clear, I'm going to add my veggies. And if I was using raw chicken, I would add that at this time too. But because I'm using cooked chicken, I don't need to. I can let the veggies cook first. We'll give that a stir to get that going. Get everything coated in that nice baking fat. also going to add some green onions. I have 2 green onions that I have sliced up, and I'm going to add a little more than half of that to this. And I'll leave probably about a tablespoon of green onion left. And I don't really care if it's whites or greens. It could be both for me. But I'm going to leave a little bit for topping at the end. So we'll set that aside. So in this pan I have the cabbage mix, I have 2 button mushrooms, and the green onions. We're going to let those get cooking. Check on my noodles. And I'm just going to stir with the same spoon. Make sure they are not sticking. And they are all good. Looks like there's a few that are sticking together. So we'll just wiggle those around until they don't. And I did heavily salt the water for the noodles. And this should be a relatively quick recipe too, because it doesn't take very long at all for that cabbage to cook. And if you wanted to add some other things like extra carrots or spinach or kale or whatever else, you could do that. You could also use one of those bags of the kale salad mix. That would probably be a good one to use with this too. You could add peppers to this. There's all kinds of things that you could add. I kind of wish I hadn't eaten all the peas in my garden, because I could have added those to this as well. My chicken ready so that I can just pop that in when it's time. Okay, my cabbage is pretty well cooked, and the mushrooms will continue to cook as we go. So I'm going to give this a little stir again with my tiny whisk. And I'm not going to go too fast because that's kind of full. But I'm going to put that sauce right in the pan. And then the last thing I need for this sauce is I'm going to add about half of this container of water so that it can loosen up. So I've added about that same amount of water to it, and the reason I use it in the same container is so that it can get the remaining flavors that were left in the cup. So we'll add that to it. And if it ends up too loose, you can always add just a little bit of cornstarch to it. Just mix the cornstarch with cold water first before you put it in the pan. That way it can thicken it up properly. Give that a little stir. And my noodles are done, so let me turn that off and I will drain these real quick while that sauce continues to cook the mushrooms and the cabbage. We have our noodles ready to go. I'm going to add my chicken. And as I said the other day, I like a lot of chicken. So I'm going to add the rest of what's in this container. And this is just that other breast from the roast chicken video. So give that a stir and let that start to warm through. And while that's warming through, we're going to also add our noodles and get them coated in the sauce and let them continue to cook. In here, looks like there's a clump here. I can't get that with my fingers. Too hot. There we go. If you have a of clump. Try and break it up. A pretty big clump there. Okay. We'll just toss that around. Flip. Make sure everything is evenly coated. Until that sauce starts to kind of disappear. Purple cabbage. Wasn't sure. That sauce is really good. And like I said, this is a really quick meal, so I'm just going to give it another minute or two, and then I will start plating up. Okay, I think we are about ready. It looks like everything is heated through. Everything is nice and bubbly. I'm going to cut that heat off. And we're going to put some of this in my bowl. It looks like this will make enough for two or a very, very hungry person. I am not super hungry today, but I will take about half of this for my dinner tonight. My noodle is trying to stay on the outside. There we go. Okay. We'll go with a little bit more. I want more noodle. There we go. All right, so we have that. So that is our noodle dish. We're going to top it with some white sesame seeds. A little bit more. And we're going to top it with those green onions. Again, I don't care if it's white or actually green. I'm just going to add a few. And then last but not least, we're going to do a drizzle of sriracha over top. Now, you don't have to do a drizzle of sriracha. If you don't like heat, you don't have to. This is kind of a mild heat, so I'm going to do a little drizzle over top and call it a day. So that is my ginger chicken lo mein. Very quick, very easy, especially with those cheats with the coleslaw mix and then the little sauces, and especially the ginger paste, meaning that I don't have to, can't think of the word. I don't have to dice it up. I don't have to shred it up. I don't have to get the skin off of it. There's a lot of work that this saves for this. So that is an excellent cheat for fresh ginger. And then everything else was just combine and go. And thanks to the cooking of the chicken, that vegetables took very little time to cook up. So that is our ginger chicken lo mein today. Thank you for hanging out with us. This has been a very quick dinner. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate you coming by the channel. Please be sure to like and subscribe to see more content, more round 2 recipes, and more single to 2 serving recipes. Again, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.